Okay, everybody's comfy cozy. Here we go. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Simon. This is Bees Knees Recording, and today we're going to check out the song Howl by Katelyn Lehner. So her music video for the song just came out like 3 days ago now, so I thought this would be a good time to walk through this. We did this production last summer, so it would have been summer of 25. I think we only had 3 sessions together, so we had an initial kind of demo pre-production day, and then we got together and did the lead vocal a later date, and then the harmonies the following day. So we were only together a couple times for this. We handled most of the process remotely. The whole team to make this happen is just between Katelyn and myself. There was nobody else involved in this, right from like the writing to the demo, right up to the final master that you hear on streaming platforms. I usually work with a pretty small team, but this was exceptionally small to have only 2 of us working on the song. So the concept for the song was kind of to follow up her previous release called Something I'd Like, which was a co-write between her and I, and ended up doing really well. And so for this song, so she had the lyrics and melody that she sent me in a voice memo via text, which was cool because it sounds like the song. Essentially, it just had no music. There was no guitar, no chords, no nothing. To me, it actually sounded pretty obvious to what the chords should be. So that's a testament to, you know, she's got a very musical brain in the way that she comes up with melodies and phrasing and stuff like that, that even without any musical backing, it was pretty easy, you know, for me to jump in and come up with the chords in context of this sort of country rock thing that she wanted to go for. So basically, to outline everything that's in the song here, we've got drums, some percussion, not very much, but the parts that are in there are very significant, electric bass, a little bit of synth bass, some rhythm guitar, lead guitar, some synth, sort of a percussive thing that just kind of carries some rhythm and momentum in the chorus, rhythm acoustic, some lead acoustic, which is just played with a slide, just like laying down on my lap, and then a bunch of vocal stuff, which we'll get into. Back up to the top, drums. So I played the drums here, and what I did is the drum shells and cymbals separately. Here's the whole kit in the chorus. Just the drum shells sound like this in that same chorus spot. When it's supposed to be a big country rock thing, I find it easier to just separate the parts, and then you've got more control over the mix and editing. You don't have to use as many tricks or, you know, having to gate drums, use drum samples as much. This is very heavy on the sounds that I actually captured because of using this method, so it's something that I'm a fan of. The cymbals in the same chorus section here sound like this. So it's funny because there's so many holes in this when you take out half of the drum kit, but you know, this section in context here is this. Okay, let's do this. I always like to, for these big things, drum samples are pretty common, but I want to show you what you can get away with when you can track the shells and cymbals separately. So I'll hit play, and then I'll mute the triggers on these drums here, and we'll see what difference they make, how significant they are. So let's grab this, and then here it is. So hopefully you can hear they're pretty subtle, like listening to what these triggers are on their own. So dog tag, this is funny that I use this because this sample is just me hitting my dog in the belly, recorded with an iPhone. A little bit of EQ to process that, but that's the only kick sample I'm using on this. Everything else is just what was recorded from the kit. So that's the biggest upside, I think, to recording the drum shells and cymbals separately, is just you can allow to build so much space and get so much tone out of the drums, and you don't have to navigate cymbal bleed. One thing that I have to touch on here, which was cool, is this verse is meant to be kind of like a groovy dance type of section here. This tom groove I'm sure you'll agree, sounds pretty similar to Teach Me How to Dougie. I've got 2 microphones on the snare drum, the SE V7X, and then the Slate ML2. So it's like a condenser type of microphone. It takes phantom power, but you can repolarize it to be shaped more like a dynamic microphone. It lowers the input, so it keeps it a nice clean signal, but it sounds more like the character, the top end, and the kind of just the voicing of a condenser. So I really like to use that. But what I do, since that ML2 had a bit more kind of snap and top end character to it, I kept that one natural to where it was. But then what I did on the V7X is I took it and I moved it back. I flipped the phase of it, first of all, so it was out of phase. And then I moved it back in time by 3.3 milliseconds. That's just where it felt best, to where it goes out of phase and then comes back in phase with itself, or with the ML2, the other snare mic. So what you have is the 2 transients of the snare drum, instead of kind of sitting in each other like this, it's basically, you've now got it separated over like one full cycle, essentially. So what that does is it kind of splays out the transient and allows it to take longer, so you can have it sound a bit louder and more present, but it's less pokey because they're not adding up exactly at the same time. And I find that is just enough that you don't notice it pulling apart at all. Like, you don't hear any flamming or anything. It just makes the snare drum sound soft but loud somehow. Okay, moving on here, percussion. So I guess technically there's another snare sample here. There's this that goes on through the whole chorus, just holding down the snare. It feels more like a ambience kind of percussion layer, but this is what it is. And I've got a weird kind of widening thing on there just to sort of pull that snare a little bit bigger and create some of the further back kind of ambience. Some cool things in the percussion. We've got little 12-inch hi-hats, what the fuck is it called? The two-faced stack. You can arrange them as hi-hats, and that's what I've done here. So the first half of the chorus, it's got the slow 8th notes. And then it speeds up for the second half. And these hi-hats kind of pan around as well. I think I've got an auto panner on there. Yeah, Brower motion. This thing is great to create some space. So you'll see, I think I've got it, favored a little bit to the right side because my regular open hi-hat is on the left. But then this just kind of moves around automatically for me here. The things you do. And it kind of goes further back and comes forward. And it just gives that a bit more movement. There's enough things in the song that just kind of have to lock in and stay in place, that those little ear candy things like that really need to move to not feel too stale in context. And then we get into some hits and things like this. Damage. Halfway through the verse, just to kind of open that up. Okay, moving on here. Let's go. Okay, this was fun. So let's pretend that a Bronco is a big vintage fire truck. And when she says Bronco engine revving, I wanted to put a sound effect in of an engine revving. But instead of using a real Bronco engine sound, because I think those are pretty polite and soft sounding, I've got a fire truck engine start, an airplane engine off, and then another truck engine start. So here's what my fictional Bronco sounds like when it revs. If that isn't a little bit overblown, I don't know what is. Again, though, it makes it a lot cooler in context. So here it is without the vocal. See if you can listen for these engines revving. Such a cool sound in there. Okay, now arguably the most important part. So this is a combination of sounds. Monster. I think these are from That Sound library. It's a company out of Australia, I believe. The whole kind of base to the song, the verses and bridge and stuff, does this. That felt a little bit canned, though, and not quite as captivating as I thought it could be. So I've got an old vintage chest that's all kind of beat up and cool. And I wanted to hit that with cowboy boots. So I took, I think, one of my boots that had a little bit of heel on it, and then one of my wife's sparkly cowboy boots, and put them on my hands and just boom, boom, and smacked on the trunk. You'll see this clip here. And this is the sound that I got with from that. So I layered it up a few times and then smashed it through my tube compressor here just to kind of get some grit and attitude, and this is what that sounds like. So then when you add that all together, you get this. So she's got a little bit more life to that kick drum. Let's actually backtrack here. I'll come back to this, but let's do some drums and percussion here just for a section to kind of see how this stuff adds up. So let's listen to the second verse and then into the downbeat of that chorus here. Cool, so you get the idea. One of my favorite parts in this is we've got a big stack of things in the end of the last chorus here. It does a big kind of drum fill into a sub drop thing. Here's how that feels. Now, this was kind of an interesting thing. This happened by accident during our demo kind of pre-production phase. Was, you know, normally you think a big rock song like this, you're going to keep it high right until the end, keep the energy up, keep everybody, you know, locked in. And I accidentally, when I was using programmed MIDI drums to do the pre-production part and to kind of figure out what felt best for the song. And when it got to this point, I forgot to copy it. And that's how this ending section was created. So I meant to copy it to the end, but I forgot this last few bar section here. So the drums just cut out and we were listening to it and it was almost this refreshing, like, oh, this is a lot more interesting that way. It's sort of like an understated intensity instead of always having to feel like you're, you know, speaking loudly to be heard. It's kind of like when you bring it down to a whisper, it like pulls people in. So for the end of the song, we thought we'd end it a bit more of this like sassy attitude to bring the energy down instead of being so in your face. So it's nice because it comes right back to where the song started with a stomp clap and the riff. So you end up being left on this. It's almost like the party's over, you know, everybody's going home and it's just like, what the heck just, what came through here? What just happened? So that's kind of the attitude that we wanted to have at the end of the song. Let's get into the bass. I call this Jordan bass. I had my friend send me an 808 sample that I was able to manipulate to kind of get closer on a different project. But I like this sound, so I actually use it a lot. And for this, I wanted it to be a synth bass in the verse, the second verse where it's meant to be more of a dancey thing. So it does some pitch divey stuff here. I think I just played it, modulating the pitch wheel and left it. So it's interesting. It doesn't quite make it up the octave, but in context, it feels like it does. Without it. Yeah. Super clean little thing. And then with Decapitator crushing it. Woo. Yeah, that's cool. This bass tone kind of drives the whole chorus. It's so aggressive. This is my, I've got a Fender jazz bass that I played with a really heavy pick. And you kind of play it with like a bit of a tilt to it. So you've got the, it's like a very scrapey kind of sound. Here's the bass leading into the second chorus. So everything there is edited. Like I would have played these as tight as I could, but if I just pull these out, you'll see there's not even really much sound in there, but I just wanted to make sure that everything was as tight as possible. So if I grab the drums, percussion, and bass at that part, this is what that sounds like, just for that big fill. So you can hear those parts that are edited, you don't even really hear them on the bass so much, but I just wanted to make sure that they didn't get in the way of, you know, having extra noise where I wanted a tom fill or that snare thing at the end here to just be really kind of punchy in the focus. So talking about the bass tone, so the DI on its own sounds like this. Compression, oh yeah, a bunch of mid-range. That's pretty much it, just pumping a bunch of 1K into that bass on the DI. FET 47 sounds like this. And then the SM7 sounds like this. Crazy. Okay, rhythm guitars. There's two things that go on here. There's Riff, which I think it looks like I kept from the scratch track. Goes like this. The main guitar, which happens in the verses, yeah, I already showed that, but it sounds like this. Taking out some 4K, taking out some 500, and then ditching all the super low stuff and some of the top, just to really kind of focus it in. Yeah, so really just kind of squishing this thing and making it just have this understated attitude is kind of the whole theme of the song. And then the main kind of aggressive rhythm tracks that come in here are, I think, the same thing. So the main rhythms just have a bit more bass and not quite as much treble. They're a little bit more of a full sound. Also, these rhythm guitars, I used my Telly, and the verse riff parts I used, I don't have it anymore, but it's a Hagstrom. But yeah, this one I wanted to go with the Telly for the rhythm guitar, and this is what those sound like with this. And then this plugin, little tape machine from Mixland. Push it up per channel after the amp sim. So it's like it's going into an amp and then hitting a tape machine, sort of. Here's what those rhythms sound like. That sludge track is crazy. It's Little Altar Boy. Yeah, just all the way down, bunch of drive, and then crushing it with this. What is this? Oh, just warm, yeah. So I'm not too crazy, but had to add that just to give like this octave down growl. That automates up and down as well. So everything, yeah, it comes in and out. So it's not in the verses or anything. It's just in the choruses to help beef up those guitars. Lead guitars, which I think these are all DIs as well. This is, oh yeah, mix wave stuff now though. The mix wave guitars sound great. So this is basically a stack. I played it once, duplicated it, and then came up with different processing for each kind of channel here. So the first kind of main part is just like a standard guitar part. So this octave I just muted where it wasn't necessary, but in the chorus on these licks, it helps to add up here. And notice I've got it panned out a little bit. So all these effects, now I've got a higher octave and then a low gain thing, which just happens in the interlude. When everything adds up, it sounds like this huge wall of one guitar part though. So it's nice and clean performance-wise, but the sound is huge. It's got an upper octave, a lower octave, and it's just this like massive sound. So that hangs out through that whole interlude, the whole 2 bars. Now we're into the synths. There's a couple of just drones. There's this high part that starts right off the top of the song. Just hangs out. and then it comes back in for the very ending of the song as well. And it just does that. There's another Spitfire Labs here, which I love. I love these sounds. They're free sounds that anybody can access and download. So there's that high part, and then there's this low, it's an organ drone that I put in the interludes to add some weight to this. It's pretty quiet, but just for something to add the drone while the riff is happening on the other instruments. And then we get into more of a rhythmic synth during the choruses, and that sounds like this. Again, really kind of a cute sound, just smashed with Decapitator. So let's go and add in the rhythm guitars and leads, and then let's grab all these synths here. And bass, what the heck. Okay, there's some main rhythm acoustic. I'm not going to spend much time on this because it's pretty straightforward. Pretty straightforward. Then I play the chorus as well. Little effect send on that harmonic at the end there. What am I doing? Where is this going? Long verb is, oh yeah, Valhalla. I love this reverb. This is my favorite reverb. If I had to pick one, this would be it. So I've got just ambience, which is like a really wide kind of open sounding reverb. Thinned out a little bit, and a little bit of modulation on it. These are my default settings here, which I think is the default to the plugin. We're pretty close. We've got a super janky lead line here that comes in the choruses here and just kind of plays around everything else. So this is just like an acoustic slide that I played on my lap. It sounds like this in the last chorus. So that's another good example of like the whole feeling of this song is really tight and precise and accurate, or whatever words you want to put on it, very like pop brained. But parts like this are the most kind of weird, quirky feeling that just add the grit and the energy, just to be super imperfect, not in tune, not really in time. I've got lots of, the slide is hitting the frets of the guitar, and it's all just this messy kind of crazy thing, but that's what sort of balances out the precision of like the bass and the rhythm guitars and the drums and stuff. So if you can have those main rhythm instruments really big and perfect, for lack of a better word, then you've got all these things, the lead guitars and the acoustic lead and stuff in here that just add that grit and texture and keep the kind of the human feel to the song, So when I was tracking the acoustic guitar, I thought it'd be really cool to have a vocal part doing the same riff. And something that we did in this song is that every time the riff comes up, per section of the song, it's different. So sometimes it's a different instrument. In this case, the vocal is only in off the top of the song, and then you don't hear this vocal riff again. Plus, it's just acoustic off the top, this whole riff. And then when it comes in the interlude, there's electric guitar, but just the low one. When it comes in the interlude later, it's like a tweak on the riff, and then the end of the song, the bass is playing it. There's a rhythm acoustic, there's the lead acoustic is all playing it. So every time you hear the riff, it's different. And I wanted to start this one off with, again, more of that kind of human feel. So using my voice to keep the kind of human intact with it. I didn't even move the mic. I just bent over to where this mic was. I don't even think I was that close, but just like leaned over and sang this part into, it was a Beyer 160 that I used for all the acoustic parts. A bit of a forced vibrato on there just to, again, not have it be so square. What's this? We've got a whistle. Let's keep going down here. Another thing that complements that fire engine effect that we have here, I added some, it's like a synth bass vocal thing. There's two of these that come in. So in context, this is what that is.
We've been counting down for a night like this. Bronco engine revving, hurry baby get in. 12-pack waiting in.
That's a layer, like if we play it without this.
For a night like this, Bronco engine revving, hurry baby get in. 12-pack waiting.
Clean and pure, and then you put it back in.
We've been counting down for a night like this. Bronco engine revving, hurry baby get in. 12-pack.
Cool little texture there that I thought was worth it. Okay, lead vocal. So I'd say this song was probably the most natural for Katelyn. I know like when we're doing these vocals that are very kind of pop leaning that have to be, precise and get all the right attitude, it can take a long time to get some of these. We probably still spent a few hours on this, but this one I felt like it was in a good range for her and she knew what she wanted for this performance. So sticking with the pop thing, we thought it would be good to add some doubles. So this is what the lead and doubles sound like.
Rubber on the gravel, speakers through the window. We've been counting down for a night like this. Bronco engine revving, hurry baby get in. 12-pack waiting and I'm giving you 6. It's getting closer. Tell the driver to.
And we've got this crazy, a bunch of effects here, but there's this distortion on it that really gives it some character.
On the gravel, speakers through the window. We've been counting down for a night like this. Bronco engine revving, hurry baby get in. 12-pack waiting and I'm giving you 6.
Massive vocal preset, but most of this song, other than that verse section, I suppose, it's just this one lead vocal that goes through the whole thing. The harmonies is where the sighs, and then there's some vocal texture effects and stuff that come in. From there, in the choruses, I sang a low octave. Here's her lead with my octaves.
That's the sound of a good time, yelling howdy cowboy. Show me where those boots go late at night. Got me feeling alright, sexy in the moonlight. Got these Daisy Dukes working overtime. Like, boy, you're so smooth. Show me where'd you learn to do the things you do. Cause ooh, you know how to make a cowgirl howl at the moon. Cause ooh, you know how.
Yeah, so you don't really realize how prominent those doubles are until you're listening to them in solo, because you don't really notice my octaves in there in context of the final song, but they're pretty loud. All the distortion and stuff on the vocal too kind of smooths off the top end and stuff, so everything kind of almost gets like pushed down. It's like we're adding a bunch of air but distorting it as well, so it kind of rounds everything off on the top end. So here's all the vocals in this last chorus.
This is what it sounds like. That's the sound of a good time, yelling howdy cowboy. Show me where those boots go late at night. Got me feeling alright, sexy in the moonlight. Got these Daisy Dukes working overtime. Like, boy, you're so smooth. Show me where'd you learn to do the things you do. Cause ooh, you know how to make a cowgirl howl at the moon. Cause ooh, you know how to make a cowgirl howl at the moon. Ow.
Yeah, that's fun. All these like texture things are so good. Like this stuff here. Where do we have?
Like, boy, you're so smooth. Show me where'd you learn to do. 'Cause, ooh, you know how to.
You know, so adding all those little accents, she's singing that on the lead vocal already, except this is like a big moment in the song.
Working overtime. Like, boy, you're so smooth. Show me where'd you learn to do the things I do.
Let's backtrack here a little bit to the second verse because there's some really cool stuff here, vocal textures and to show off. So here's the second verse section, all the vocals.
Boys are cheers beers and favorite song is playing. Girls yelling, this is our song. Find me on the dance floor, this is what you came for. Keep the party rocking with me all night long. Ooh, he's walking towards me, saying, baby, come dance with me. And that's the sound of a good time, yelling, howdy cowboy, show me where those boots go.
Yeah, so the things to kind of pay attention for here are these ad-libs.
Find me on the dance floor, this is what you came for.
So again, that's like the attitude of this kind of like dance floor swagger kind of thing. And then this is one of my favorite things. So adding a rhythmic breathing to this. That's a funny thing to listen to on its own, but it's so cool in context. Like there's so much that this thing adds. Just popping these things in where it needs it really elevates this vocal arrangement and kind of highlights the parts that I think need to be highlighted. You know. Okay, to finish things off here, we've got all these backs, I like to call them. So they're either the howls or I'll just play these oohs, things like that. In the pre-chorus, which will sound nice and kind of smooth. It's almost like a mysterious little thing before the chorus comes in where they're like just super nice and gentle. It's like the calm before the storm. And then the howl at the end of the chorus. Oh, with her main ad lib. In the middle here, we've got, the gang O. Girls yelling, oh, this is our song. It's a weird kind of combination of things, but let's listen to this section together to just get more context on that.
Boys are cheers and beers and favorite song is playing. Girls yelling, this is our song. Find me on the dance floor, this is what you came for. Keep the party rocking with me all night long. Ooh, he's walking towards me, saying, baby, come dance with me. And that's the sound of a good time, yelling, howdy cowboy, show me.
For how many sort of scenes there are in the song between, like, let's say the intro and interludes and verses is kind of one scene, the chorus is a second scene, and then maybe the bridge is a third. Everything is pretty minimal. It's very, very heavily focused on the arrangement and the performances to either have things where they're needed or not where they're not. Like there's no bass guitar in any of the verses, right? Just to leave so much space for that riff, for the vocals, for any of that kind of stuff that's going on. It's either got to add the feel, like these synth parts. The song doesn't really need synth, but there was something that had to carry that dun 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 rhythm, and it, you know, to tie it in with these hi-hats is basically what it does. My goal, especially on a pop feeling song like this, that I get to handle all the music on my own, I think it allows me to make decisions based on the song. I was able to, rather than just noodling through the whole song and choosing the parts later, I only played the parts that it needed, and I was able to fill in the gaps based on what the feel required that wasn't being taken care of by the vocals. So I think that pretty much takes us to the end. I'll leave you with the last chorus of the song for now, and thanks again for watching. Catch you in the next one.